Hello and welcome back to the ILTV News Podcast. I'm Ayan Hoffman, Executive Editor of ILTV News, and I'm so glad to be here with our viewers and our listeners. I have with me today a very exciting and interesting guest, somebody who you've probably heard of. His name is Hillel Fuld. He's a tech columnist turned Israel advocate. Welcome, Hillel.
Thank you. Long overdue.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so glad to have you on the show. Good friend for a long time and somebody who I clearly follow very closely on social media and all
mutual.
the work you do.
Big fan.
Thank you very much. Well, I want to actually start by what happened in June. I want to take us back a couple of months. Australia banned you, who is a tech columnist, as you said, someone who's been, really a very positive voice for Israel, but just really for the business industry over the last number, decades, really. And then they said that it would disrupt the peace for you to travel to Australia. Did you ever talk to anyone in Australia? What happened there? And do you think it's something that will be rectified? What's going on?
You can't make this stuff up. If I wanted to, I couldn't make the story up. So what happened was I was supposed to speak at two galas of Magen David Adom, as you know, the Red Cross of Israel, basically. And the topic wasn't anything to do with the war, geopolitics. It was literally about Israeli tech. So there was no even justification that maybe I'm going to share something that's inciting to violence. It was just not even relevant. Anyway, a few days before I was set to fly, I saw a tweet from some random tiny little account that said, Hillel Fuld, genocide supporters coming to Australia, report him to immigration, blah, 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 blah. And it was this tiny little Twitter account. And it was a little weirded out, but everyone's like, don't worry about her. She makes a lot of noise. Just ignore it. So I ignored it. Friday morning, 3 days before I'm supposed to fly, I'm at the barber. And I get an email, and it says, we have revoked your visa from the Australian government. And we've revoked your visa because your tweets are inflammatory and Islamophobic, and it included a document of those tweets. Of course, I opened the document to see what on earth they were talking about because I'm very careful not to be racist in my tweets. I'm not racist. So, and it was ridiculous. It was actually ridiculous. The tweets, for example, you probably remember, there was that first of many accusations that there was a massacre in the humanitarian zone in Gaza.
Yes.
Right? After that, they reported that 100 times, and every single time it was debunked, right? So it was the first one. And I said, listen, I know for a fact there was not a single shot fired. There was no massacre. And that's what I tweeted. And they quoted that as inflammatory, even though the next day, all of those journalists who reported it, pulled their articles or apologized, right? So that was one. Another one was where I said that radical Islam is a global plague, which, again, I call that, I guess, listen, if I'm being totally honest, maybe one of the tweets that they mentioned could be understood as problematic because I said the word phobia means an irrational fear of something.
Right.
And according to all data, 10 to 15% of Muslims worldwide are radicalized. So that's 180, 300 million people dedicated to our destruction. Fearing them is not irrational. There's nothing irrational about that. So I kind of said that Islamophobia is not a real term. But okay, you could say that was whatever. Anyway, so that's what happened. So I'm sitting at the barber. I read this email 5 times. I couldn't believe my eyes. And I immediately appealed, right? That's the first thing that I thought to do was appeal. In addition, I contacted Ambassador Huckabee, who was a friend, and I said, I applied on my American visa. They banned an American Jew. It's nuts. Right. So he wrote a beautiful letter to the Australian government. I then contacted Israel's foreign minister, Gideon Sa'ar. I contacted Gilad Erdan, who's the former ambassador to the UN. Any diplomatic channel that I could, and I thought, for sure, one of these 3 things, either, the appeal, American government, or the Israeli government, something's going to work. And I purposely did not go to the press. I was like, let's solve this back channel. And it was Friday, so I knew I was signing off for Shabbat, but I was like, okay, it's going to work out, right? So I did ping a couple of my friends in the press and said, this is what's going on, but do not report it. I'm just letting you know. Don't report it.
That.
And that was that. I come back Saturday night, and it was a media storm. I don't know how it got out, but at that point I was like, okay, this is no longer a secret. And it just went, to say it was viral was an understatement. It was hundreds and hundreds of articles. And at that point I'm like, okay, for sure something's going to work. There's no way they don't reverse this decision. Well, they didn't reverse the decision, and I am banned for 3 years from Australia, which is absurd. But just when you thought it couldn't get more absurd, they announced that they're banning, Kanye West. And they actually, verbally compared me to Kanye West. Just like we banned Hillel Fuld for his Islamophobia, we're banning Kanye West for his antisemitism. And I'll remind you, he literally released a song called Heil Hitler. The fact that they would compare us to this, it is beyond absurd. So that's the reality. I'm banned for 3 years, and, it's just totally insane. But
yes.
Sorry, I know that this is a long answer, but just last thing. At the time, I was devastated. I was supposed to go. It ended up working out better than if I had gone because, first of all, I ended up doing the talk virtually. They got more money raised because of all the media. I got paid. I didn't have to fly 25 hours. And a couple of days later, the Iran war broke out.
Right.
So I'd be stuck in Australia as my kids are in the bomb shelter, shielding themselves from ballistic missiles from Iran. Thank God I didn't go. So it all worked out.
Well, if you remember, we were actually supposed to go at the same time, and we were going to try to meet in Australia. And our flight was actually that Friday morning when the Iran war broke out. So we also didn't make it to Australia.
Can you imagine, though? You've been stuck there for...
That is exactly what I thought. Like, what you just said is what I said to myself, like, oh, my God, I would have been gone, and my kids would have been home. And it was, like, wild to think about that. So, and as a journalist, I can't imagine having missed, I mean, I hate to say that, but having missed the Iran war. Like, I mean, there's the coverage.
You wouldn't have missed it. I mean, you could have seen it. But it's not like the same as being here.
It's not the same as, like, being in the field and being able to, like, feel it with all the people, you know? I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, do you regret any of the online activism, though, in the fact that, now this has happened, that, you're a person that your livelihood really depends on your reputation. So deserved or not deserved, this has now come out and there must be some people talking about it less positively.
So this is an interesting conflict, internal conflict that I have all the time, which is, do I say, what I believe in the depths of my soul, even though it will get pushback? Or do I just say, I'd rather not annoy people? And I'll tell you, this just happened on Friday, I believe. A soldier in Gaza sent me a picture of him holding not a rocket, a pagaz thing for the tanks. What's it called? I'm forgetting the word right now.
I don't know what it's
called. With a thing on it that said, in memory of Charlie Kirk.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so he sent it to me. I blurred his face, and I was like, should I post it? Should I not post it? And I did post it. You can't even imagine the pushback that I got. And, I can understand why people find that offensive. And maybe I didn't read the room. Maybe I shouldn't have posted that so early. It was just after he was killed. But ironically or not, the biggest pushback I got was from Jews saying, it looks bad. What are they going to say about us? So that point really, really annoys me. It's like, we have to stop apologizing. Enough already. Like, I'm not saying you should do things that are offensive, like, on purpose, but if you're going to report the truth and it annoys people, so be it, right? In this specific case, like, I came back from Shabbat, I think it had 3 million views or something, that post. It went crazy.
Wow,
and of course, it was massively viral, amongst our enemies. So I ended up deleting the post, which is something I almost never do. But it just went too far, and I was like, it offended so many people, so I took it down.
Have any of these things actually hurt your business in any capacity with some of the companies you work with?
Oh, I was supposed to speak I'm not going to mention where, in New York. Sorry, in the States, in October, and part of the itinerary, the schedule of this conference was how to use AI in Hasbara. Not to lie, just how to use these tools, right?
Right.
Somehow the website was found by pro-Palestinian activists. It wasn't even public yet. And then they hacked into the organizers' emails and found that they had engaged me and many of our mutual friends on the topic of how to use AI. And of course, they took it to a place of, this guy's teaching Hasbara people how to use AI, and they canceled the event. They got it canceled.
It's crazy.
Which was a nice paycheck for me.
And do a lot of these things happen, you think, because the American authorities, for example, are afraid that they can't secure an event like that and that, God forbid, something could happen? Or do you think it happens more because of anti-Semitism?
I think it's both. I think it's, in other words, this was canceled because they said they're going to bring massive crowds of people. They're going to disrupt the whole thing. And there's really nothing we can do about it in terms of, you can bring security. I mean, I've been, in conferences where they literally had 40 security guards for me, which is...
It's very expensive.
It's expensive, but also, how have we gotten here? I'm just a random dude writing on the internet. Why do you need 40 security guards for me? It's it's insane.
Well, it's what happened with Charlie Kirk. I mean, when you think about that, it's so related.
I still can't believe it happened.
This rising extremism, that we're starting to see in such a crazy way that nobody is safe. I mean, and I know I saw afterwards that a lot of influencers, like yourself, like Charlie, who were saying, or in that, same realm, that were saying that they are afraid because they don't have, it's not like the prime minister comes with a whole entourage. Right. You go, you speak on a college campus, you expect to be able to speak relatively safely. Right. You don't expect to get shot. Right. I mean, and with rising anti-Semitism, I mean, it is out of control for a lot of Jews. I guess my question for you is actually that, how do we reach this boiling point? What do you think led to this?
So that's a good question. So the way I see it, and this is something that I've kind of been thinking a lot about over the last 2 years, right? Just to be clear, October 6th, I had my own consulting business, right?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. That's why we started out. We saying, you were a tech columnist.
Right.
You're somebody who ran a very successful tech marketing firm. Right. And all of a sudden, you become such a strong voice for Israel. Right. And we're going to talk about it soon. But, this is the month where your brother, unfortunately, it's kind of I'm going to come out. So I'm always Anyway, but this is when your brother, Ari Fuld, was murdered in a terrorist attack. And even after that, as much as you spoke out for Ari, you were not an Israel advocate, I wouldn't say. You were pro-Israel, you were pro-positive voice, but you weren't an online Israel advocate. You were a tech advocate, Israeli tech advocate. And today, it's 2 years later, this war, you have become one of the most important voices, I would say, in terms of, explaining Israel's narrative.
Yeah.
So how did we get here?
So first of all, like you said, I had a consulting business and it was growing and it was great, and I was a kid in a candy store, right? I mean, from my perspective, this is how I was going to retire. October 7th, I never had more clarity in my life that I needed to shut down the business and focus on Israel, because forget the numbers of followers. Many people have a lot of followers. The people that follow me, I think, make my platform very unique in that it's the tech world. And the tech world is predominantly very, very liberal / anti-Israel. Right. And they don't listen to Hasbara people. Someone who fights for Israel online, in their face, they're just dismissing them. But they don't view me as a Hasbara person. They view me as their colleague who they trust. And so I realized I had to leverage that trust, right? I had to reach people that no one else could reach. And so I sat down and literally defined very, very specifically my mission of what I'm going to be doing, which is 2 components. One is to be a source of real-time accurate information, which is, as you know better than me, real-time and accurate are mutually exclusive, right? Because if it's real-time, you can't verify it, right? And if it's verified, it's not real-time. But because I'm getting, feeds from the Knesset and from, the IDF spokesperson and very many formal feeds so I'm able to cross-reference and make sure that what I report is true. And I'm very proud of the fact that with very few exceptions, I was spot on in the war. And even those exceptions, I wasn't wrong, I was too early. It wasn't verified yet. Okay, so that's one. And the second part of the mission that I'm on is just to give our team a reason to get up in the morning, just something positive, a milestone, inspirational video, whatever. And my posts have now surpassed 4.5 billion impressions, which is insane.
And on which platforms are you mostly working? LinkedIn and everywhere. Twitter, everywhere?
Yeah. I think my biggest, forget followers is not a good metric, but I think my most engagement is probably Twitter, X.
Interesting.
Anyone's going to call it X at some point.
I call it X, and then I go Twitter, and then X, and then Twitter. It's hard to keep it straight.
So I think Twitter is my highest engagement in terms of and then Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, smaller on TikTok, which is something I'm working on. But yeah, those are the platforms, and I don't many people automate it, they'll publish once and everywhere. I don't do that. I have a very specific audience at each place, and so I'm tailoring my content for each platform, which again takes time. So that's what I've been doing, and honestly, it's been extremely gratifying to reach that many people. And you know what? Even the views are a nice vanity metric, they're good for my ego. But what's really meaningful are the messages that I get from people by the thousands saying to me, "You changed my mind. I did not know any of this." I'll give you an example. I wrote a post about Zionism. What is Zionism? Not from an emotional perspective, literally, historically, factually, what is Zionism? And I got easily 5,000 messages in response saying, "I knew none of that. I just didn't know any of that." So people saying to me that I changed their mind is what really gets me going. Wild. And the Knesset gave me an award. I'm sure they gave you an award. It's been, it's been nice. It's not. I'm not going to lie. It's not been easy to shut down a multi-million-dollar business. I don't have any second thoughts. It was the right thing to do. Not easy.
Wow, no, I can imagine. But I guess playing the devil's advocate, it's interesting that all of the pro-Israel advocates like yourself or influencers are using all these social media platforms. And social media platforms are also so much of the problem of why we're seeing, I think, a lot of the growing anti-Semitic sentiment. Now, anti-Semitism always existed. Anti-Israel always existed. Anti-Zionism always existed. And certainly we saw it rising and rising even from a little bit before, but certainly during COVID up and through the war and onwards and upwards. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of research by, different kinds of organizations, whether it's the Cyberwells or others, that are showing how much the nature of social media and the inability to shut down the anti-Semitic messages is actually leading to people, the masses, believing these terrible tropes.
It's much worse than that.
So then, but if that's happening, why? And it's not like there's enough Jews or pros or voices to combat the number of Muslims and other people going against the Jews. So why even use those platforms? Is it worth our time? And is it not just sort of feeding the flame to make these places more popular?
So first of all, it's not that the social media networks can't shut it down. It's that they encourage it because their algorithms thrive on extremism.
Okay.
Right? That's what gets more clicks, right? The hatred and the anti-Semitism gets more clicks and helps their business. So they're not just not stopping it, they're encouraging it.
Okay.
But the way I see it, there are 3 groups on the internet, right? There's our group, which we don't need convincing, but we need reinforcing.
So the choir that we need to feel good and we need to
Yeah, but we also need reinforcing.
Okay.
Many people on our team don't know enough history, about the conflict. They just talk. They don't really know.
Right.
And the
It's a
second
weak
anyone
wire.
challenges them,
I remember interviewing, I'm trying to remember what his name is now, this actor who came in here. His name's eluding me.
Australian guy?
Not the Night Buzz. No, he's an American actor.
Michael
Comedian
Rappaport,
actor.
I assume.
No, he's like not that famous. But it was whatever, all comes to me. And he actually said, that he doesn't mind that he speaks to the choir because the choir is weak and the choir needs more information.
Right.
So that's kind of what you're saying.
Right, so that's definitely important. Then there's the opposite group, the people who I call the Heil Hitler folks, just no talking to these people. Complete lunatics, right? You can show them the sky is blue and they're going to be like, no, the sky is brown. You're like, but look, it's blue. They just, no talking to them.
Okay.
Then there's the middle group, which is by far the biggest group, like not even close. These are people that are not necessarily pro-Israel, but they're people with integrity. They're people who are willing to talk and listen and have civil conversation. And yes, if they realize that they didn't know something, I'll give an example. I spoke to someone, you guys occupied Gaza on October 6th. I'm like, what's a disengagement? I don't know what that is. I never heard of it. I'm like, go Google the disengagement. He'd never heard of it. So he comes back to me. He's like, dude, I knew none of that. You weren't in Gaza. I'm like, there was not a single Jew in Gaza in October. So he was, again, he's a person with integrity. He's like, okay, wow, I need to relearn everything now, So, that middle group are the people that I'm speaking to. And again, those are the people that have enough integrity to realize that they were wrong about certain things. And by the way, when we mess up Israel, we own it. I have no problem.
Yeah. More or less. I mean, I did hear Netanyahu say that, when he had his press conference with Rubio that we were successful in the strike in Doha.
Yeah, but he said why?
Because of the message that it sent. But I would have to question now that Trump has already said, we can't do it again. And we didn't kill the leaders. I'm not sure how that was defined.
Is that confirmed?
Yeah, it's confirmed, I think, pretty much.
And we didn't kill any of them?
No, I don't know any of them, but the ones definitely not the majority.
So where are they? Why are they not showing their faces?
I don't know, but my understanding is that it was not, and that was one of the reasons that Netanyahu even had his spin. I mean, we'll see. The facts haven't all come out.
Maybe I'm just speculating.
It might be one or two.
Or they could be severely injured.
Well, I did hear that there's maybe a number in the hospital. It could be.
We could debate this all day, but I actually disagree with you on that because I do think that setting that precedent of showing them that they're not safe anywhere, I do think that.
No, I agree with that.
Success.
No,
not a success,
that I agree with, and I would have gone with that until we had the Trumpism, where it was like, hey, that can never happen again.
Right.
So then you're like, okay, well, we sent a message, except now the message is undone because you're not going to go against Trump.
Fair point.
So yeah, it's Anyway, I want to actually take you to the anniversary of your brother's murder 7 years ago. Did you ever think 7 years ago that Israel would be in this place? I mean, how do you, looking back 7 years, feel that things are the same or changed? Like Ari, what comes out of Ari's death?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a post this morning. What would Ari do? I just listed all the things that we're experiencing now and how Ari would respond to them. The world has gotten infinitely more absurd, and there's no other word. There's literally no other word. I mean, when you are spreading rumors that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, you've lost your mind. We've lost our collective mind. The world has lost their mind. And we've all kind of, well, I can't speak for you, but, me and I guess everyone that we've kind of grown okay, this is the reality we live in. Ari would not, that was not how he operated. He had zero tolerance policy for any lies, even on a granular level of don't call it the West Bank, call it Judean scenario, that stuff, but also on a much, grander scale. He would just debunk lie after lie after lie. He would not accept any of this. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't think he'd be able to stop many. He would probably, I don't know if he would have gone to Gaza to stop the humanitarian aid, but he would have definitely done everything he could, obviously not violence, to stop the humanitarian aid. He would say, do you understand what we're doing? We're sending aid into an enemy entity. What is wrong with us right now? We all kind of think it, and maybe some people are supportive because there's innocent people in Gaza, but we can't ignore the fact that it's unprecedented that we're sending in hundreds of millions of tons of aid to enemy territory. It's wild. So I think, the world has gotten totally insane, and Ari would not have stood for that. He would have fought it every single step of the way. Listen, Ari left, he left a massive legacy, many legacies, that's the truth. But, he literally lived as a hero in that he dedicated his life to IDF soldiers, to the land of Israel, and to the Torah of Israel. That was his life. I'll tell you a personal story that I haven't told maybe ever. I hope I don't get in trouble for telling this, but it's an amazing story. So at some point, he was working in advocacy and with these organizations helping the IDF, which means he wasn't making money. And at one point I said to him, Ari, enough. You have a family. Let me get you into tech. He's like, okay. So I got him into tech. I got him a tech job, right? And a marketing job at a great company, and all was good. And then he had one of his ceremonies where he finishes a tractate of the Talmud, which he did often because he always learned. And in that ceremony, in that Jewish ceremony, we say, we run to the Beit Midrash to learn Torah, and they run, as in everybody else in the world runs to things that aren't as important. Whatever, that's what we say. And as he read those words, he started to cry. He's like, why am I working in tech? I should be sitting and helping Israel and learn. And he started crying, and then he quit his job.
Oh, that's crazy.
And the company ended up getting sold.
No way. Oh, my God.
But, so he literally lived like a hero. And as you know, that morning, he was shopping for his family. And it's a really important point to say that, this terrorist was a kid.
Right.
Like, we have to remember that when people talk about innocent children, it's not always, it might be children, but it's not always innocent children because they indoctrinate their kids to kill Jews, right? I mean, this is 100%. Well documented. So this was a kid, wasn't a Hamas terrorist, nor was he lacking anything. He wasn't oppressed. He wasn't occupied. He lived an affluent life. Like, he had a beautiful house.
Well, he was over by the Rami Levy.
Yeah. He was living the life. And there was no reason, not that there's ever a reason, but there was no reason for him to do what he did. He woke up and said, today's a good day to kill a Jew. And so he came from behind Ari, stabbed him in the neck, and he, I guess, hit the jackpot for him, and he got him in the main artery, at which point Ari was clinically dead, basically. Somehow he was able to chase him down, jump over a wall, and shoot the terrorist when he was just inches away from his next victim, a woman named Hillel, who had just given the terrorist lunch because she had a falafel stand there, not knowing, obviously, that he's a terrorist. And he was, chasing her and was about to murder her, basically. And Ari shot him, didn't kill him, but saved her life. And she's since become part of the Fuld family. But he literally lived like a hero and died like a hero. He became a national hero of the state of Israel, which, is a really interesting thing that I'm sure you can relate to, which is that living in Israel, by definition, is accompanied with like a serious cognitive dissonance, right? And this is just a perfect example. On the one hand, my brother was murdered. Terrible tragedy. On the other hand, my brother's a national hero of the state of Israel. Like, unbelievable pride. Yeah. It's like, how do those two things coexist? But they do, right?
Yeah.
And the conflict, right? All of us want the end of the conflict, for sure the end of the war. But on the other hand, we don't want to stop before we accomplish. Like, we always live in this internal conflict, Yeah. So I think Ari was like the epitome of that for us, for the family.
I remember him as such a beautiful man, like doing just amazing work. I mean, because he worked in advocacy and I, as a journalist, I used to interact with him a lot, in the messaging, and he worked with organizations. And I remember him very, very well. And it's crazy when you said it was 7 years today. It feels like yesterday. And I'm sure for you, much, much more. So.
It's crazy.
So crazy. Do you feel that something really big like October 7th is going to happen in the diaspora as a result? I mean, I read something that you had written on, I think, .x.
We'll talk about opening a can of worms.
In August, I think it was. And it stuck with me because then there were like some responses. And I mean, correct me if I get anything wrong here, but you had talked about that, I think it was with regards to Australia. You said something will happen in Sydney or something will happen where all of a sudden there's going to be this massive attack because nothing's being done. I'm wondering if it's not going to be in America because I think the Jews are most comfortable there, 80 to 100 years after comfort. We usually see something happen. I mean, what do you think?
So what I wrote was that if you look at the trajectory, just look at the events, we're headed in a very clear direction, which is a mass casualty attack against Jews in some center of Jews, right? I don't know where I wrote. I don't know if it's in Europe or in the States, but that's where we're headed. And I wrote in the post, I would bet that it's going to happen in the next 30 days. Of course, it got so much pushback you can't even imagine.
Thank God it didn't happen in 30 days.
Even rabbis wrote articles.
It's about 30 days now, no?
So it's like
45?
45 days, yeah. Rabbis wrote articles saying Hillel thinks he's a prophet. And I wrote in the thing, I'm not a prophet, but,
No, you're saying that you see a trend.
And also on October 5th, and you can go look this up on social media. On October 5th, I wrote a post and I said, if you're paying attention to geopolitics and you don't think something big's about to happen, you're not paying attention. 2 days before October 7th. And I wrote, Israel beat the center of it. So am I a prophet? No, but I have my eyes open and everyone else has their eyes shut. So I said, we're headed in that direction. So thank God 30 days has passed and there was no mass casualty, whatever. And I hope I'm wrong more than anything. But we're not going to address this the way it needs to be addressed. Anti-Semitism has gotten to a point that, honestly, it's hard for me, and I'm sure for you, to believe that we've gotten here in our lifetime. In a million years, if I had told, I say this to my friends all the time. If I had told you 10 years ago that there'd be anti-Semites in Congress, half of Congress would be anti-Semitic, that there would be, windows shattered, shuls, synagogues vandalized, literal, blood and other things spread on synagogues, Jews being harassed and assaulted, you would have been like, there's no way that's going to happen.
So I have to tell you, I don't agree. I think I definitely would have said that it would be happening. And in fact, at the time, if you talk about 10 years ago, I was the editor of the Baltimore Jewish Times at the time. And there was a lot of anti-Semitism going on in Europe, if you remember. And then it wasn't in America. And I remember writing columns saying, like, because American Jews aren't paying attention, it's going to come to our shores. Now, would I have necessarily thought that you would see riots in the streets, like these people who say they're standing up for human rights, actually standing up against Jews and thinking that human rights meant anti-Jewish? No, I don't think I could have envisioned that.
It's wild.
But definitely, I think anti-Semitism around the world has been growing, for a long time. And as I said, even going back to COVID, you see it spiking and spiking. And October 7th sort of opened the well, so to speak, or opened the firestorm, that people feel that they can now overtly instead of covertly be anti-Semitic. Right. But I also think that it's timely. Like, I think that Jews never can get too comfortable in any one place. And I think the craziness today is that you have a Donald Trump White House that seems so pro-Israel, barring some figures in the MAGA department, but so pro-Israel. Huckabee as an ambassador who would give us the whole land tomorrow. Rubio was just here, incredible. Yeah. And then you have these people marching across the streets in the United States, and there's this complete disconnect between the let's call it, and the government. And where does that ultimately end? Is it like we get through the Trump administration and then the next government is the one that represents those people? Does this new administration manage to get anti-Semitism under control with all the work they're doing? I doubt it.
I mean, we have history books.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I doubt it.
We have the script. Yeah. It's been, keeps repeating itself in every generation. It's the exact same script, literally. Yeah. Not the only. Well,
I think it says in every generation, in the Torah it says that, right? Or in the Talmud. Haggadah. I'm like, where do I read that every year?
Yeah. Right. It's the same script, and it's the same narrative that the Jews in that place tell themselves. I mean, I don't mean to get all biblical on you, but literally in the Torah, in the Bible, not in the commentary, in the Torah itself, right? It literally says that when the Jews left, that the 80% stayed back. That's in the commentary. But it talks about the narrative that these people felt. What were they telling themselves? It was so obvious that they were saying to themselves, I'm Egyptian. I was born here. My parents leave and go to this land of milk and honey. I'll stay here and lobby. We have to have these people lobbying, right? Because Egypt is the strongest empire in the world. Right. What were they,
it's
right?
Literally.
And then you see the same things. You see in the desert, right? Mm-hmm. Famously, the Israelites are told, go into the land of Israel. And they famously send spies that are the heads of the tribes, biggest rabbis of the generation. 10 come back and say, don't go in. How could that be? And I never asked myself that question. 10 of the biggest rabbis are contradicting God. Well, what do they tell themselves? What are the rabbis today telling themselves? They're saying, I live here in Lakewood or in wherever. My kids are very religious. I'm going to go into Israel where I'm going to see Jews with tattoos, right?
I know.
And so what do the spies what do they say to themselves? They're we're in the desert, right? We have a direct line of communication with God. We're getting food from the heavens and water out of stones. We're going to stay here where we're very religious. And God's like, that's not your job. Get into the land of Israel. They're like, no, we'll stay here. It's the same narratives over and over again. And in every generation, what we do is it's crazy to see it, right? Someone said, if learning from history has taught us anything, it's that we don't learn from history, right? Yeah. Because what happens is we are in an empire, doesn't matter where, Egypt, Rome, Greece.
America.
America's obvious now, but throughout our history, it's the same thing. We're in this thing, and this empire grows and grows until it reaches world domination and unparalleled control and influence, and it throws morality out the window. That's what it does every single time. Put the people to fight.
Corrupts.
Right. You put people to fight to the death in the Colosseum for my entertainment, the emperor, right? Crazy stuff. And as soon as they throw morality out the window, they are reminded where the morality comes from in the first place, and that's from the Torah, right? I mean, I don't mean to sound like a supremacist, but where does the world know that it's immoral to murder? Because in ancient times it wasn't. The answer is the Bible. That's not I'm better than anyone else. It's just a fact.
And the Bible's also Judeo-Christians, also Christians, and
exactly.
Others should have those.
So we to them represent, and they're like, we don't want your morality, so they come after us, right? And then we, in every generation, like idiots, come to our host, and we say to our host, hey, Germany, don't hate us. We're just like you. In fact, we're more German than you. Greeks, who are the most liberal people in America today? The Jews. We think we can out-America the Americans, right? And then what happens is our host has to remind us, and they say, you're not just like us. We've developed a tool to show you're not just like us, and it's called anti-Semitism. And then anti-Semitism goes through the roof. And then unfortunately, again, if you look at the script,
Jews
what happens
die.
Next, Jews die, but what happens next is that empire falls.
Yeah.
And so,
which is what, the writing's been on the wall also in many ways for America. Now, we're going to run out of time. And Hillel, I want you to be able to give a final message. Not everybody can be a social media influencer like you, can have the power to tap into these audiences. But just tell me in, 30 seconds, what do you recommend to the average person who wants to be able to do something good to help the state of
So
Israel?
I'll push back on the premise because I can give you many examples. I'll give you one example, which is that plane on the Hudson, right? That everyone saw that picture. No one knows who took that picture. It was some random dude with like 9 followers, but it went crazy viral because the content was good. So the amount of followers is irrelevant. If you have a good message and you're able to speak in an articulate manner, like factually, not get all, then your content can absolutely go viral, and it doesn't matter how many followers you have. So I think everyone should speak their mind, and I think that the whole misconception of I'm speaking to, to my echo chamber is just technically wrong, because if you share something good and I share it or anybody shares it, you just exited your echo chamber. You accessed my friends. And if one of my friends shares it, so the whole I'm not going to talk because I only have 5 friends on Facebook is just wrong. It's just not true. So everyone has to use their platform, and if you're not comfortable speaking on the internet, do something else. Hug your mom. Do something. Don't just sit around like a crack addict reading your social media. That's the worst thing you can do. Everyone has to do something. But at the end of the day, my message is to your viewers and to everyone watching. Again, we've been down this road. This isn't our first rodeo. We know how this ends, because in every generation we end up surviving, and that empire disappears. So we will dance again. That is guaranteed 100%.
What an amazing ending message. Hillel Fuld, thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks.